Boatbuilding News, the podcast. Let's do it. Welcome to Boatbuilding News, the podcast, a series of engaging interviews with key individuals from within the marine industry. I'm excited. This is going to be epic. I had the pleasure of spending some time talking to Peter Harrison, a man who built a business on selling happiness. Hi, Peter. It's such a pleasure to have you on the Boatbuilding News podcast. So thank you so much for agreeing to come on as a guest. So let's dive straight in. Tell us about who you are and what it is you do.
Well, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. So I'm
Great.
Peter. We're a charter broker firm, and basically we sell holidays around the world. Where essentially wherever there's a boat, we can sell a holiday on it, or day trips, or anything that floats.
You make it sound so simple.
Yeah.
So tell us about where it all started.
Cool. So, I mean, me personally, I sailed my whole life. I'm from a sailing family. Did a lot of racing, dinghy racing, yacht racing. Kind of fell into this industry after university. Saw a job advertised in London, and I went for it. Got the job, and absolutely fell in love with the industry. Essentially, I love holidays. I love yachts, and it's kind of like the dream job, really. So. I was there for a few years, and actually that's where I met my business partner Simon Morgan, and then in 2015, end of 2015, we decided to venture on our own and launched Helm, which are kind of like focused on sort of like a tailor-made holiday. So all about making a really personal connection with the customer, and essentially cutting the crap from there's so many different options out there, and we just only wanted to work with a select few of suppliers that we know is good quality, and we know that our customers are going to have a good time, because everyone knows returning customers are much easier than getting new ones. So that was kind of the focus, and we had a successful few years. COVID hit us pretty hard, as it did for most, and then we were actually approached by Matt Ovenden, who is the founder of Borough, and we were acquired by them in June 2021, and now we're sort of the two brands, the Helm and the Borough brand, so we're kind of running the company for both of those now. So Borough is kind of like a big marketplace, so maximum choice. There's something like 45,000 boats on the site, which is crazy.
Wow.
And
That's
it's
mad.
just it's all about accessibility, getting people on the water, and just making it a nice, easy platform that people can search for wherever they want, whatever they want. They can find a boat, and that's kind of it. And then Helm is trying to still be like a marketplace, but which is a lot more curated. So there's less choice, but it's just boats that we know and trust. So it's they're two quite different brands, but obviously the synergy between them is amazing. So
Yeah, absolutely. So how did you feel when you were approached by Borough? Because at that moment you must have realized that the product or the company that you'd created, the big players in the industry were really starting to take notice of you.
Yeah, it was obviously quite nice to be approached, but at the same time you're kind of giving up a little bit of your baby, which was a decision to go by. But at the time COVID was still fairly prominent, and we saw it as quite a nice hedge against that, and at the same time we admired what Borough had done, and we saw fantastic potential in what they had. So and I think the combined resources, our expertise in the industry and the tech that they were bringing, I think it really helped us to merge and grow over the last 18 months, which we've had fantastic growth over the last 18 months because of that. So I think we made the right call.
Yeah, sure. I mean, so actually, it's quite unique in the fact that it's not like you were swallowed up by Borough, but you've still managed to hold on to the Helm name, and you're still different from them even though you're part of their group. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
definitely.
You've still held your
I mean,
unique.
it's essentially we're a group, so it doesn't matter what the brand is. We're just all working together for the same cause, essentially. So Helm is just a brand of the Borough Boat Group, essentially. Um,
Yeah,
and that it's actually quite interesting over the last 18 months that the amount of people that have inquired for both brands is tiny. So it really shows that we
oh,
are in quite
really?
different areas of the market, which is great. It's what we
Yeah,
wanted.
which is great. Yeah, it's a complementary partnership, as opposed to the big name, sort of buying out one of the smaller names. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? You complement each other.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what makes Helm unique from the competition?
So I think I think we're fairly unique in the fact that we are incredibly selective. So we
Mm.
only really want the best for our customers, which again, not everyone does, but we do legitimately
Yeah.
turn down bookings. Like if it's with a company that we don't want to work with,
Oh,
we'll
really?
turn it down. So
Okay.
I think that hopefully plays to our strength and actually our reputation. From our customers is obviously very high
Mm.
because of that, and they know if they're booking a Helm charter, they know they're going to get a good one, and that's what we set out to do when we launched the company was be known for quality, and yeah, that's I guess that's as far as I know. I mean, obviously I don't know drastically other people my competition too much, but
Yeah.
I know that's what we do, and I think hopefully we've done it quite well.
Awesome. So, I mean, obviously, we've already touched on it slightly, the negative impact that the COVID, pandemic had on, obviously, the holidays and the charter industry. But coming out the back of it, how has it altered the industry? How is it a different industry coming out of COVID than it was going into?
Yeah, good question. So I know obviously COVID was difficult for a lot of people. I mean, us included. Holidays was the last
Mm,
thing on people's minds during the pandemic.
absolutely.
So what I think it definitely did was it was a bit of a catalyst to changing towards like a greener future, which I know there are definitely areas in the yachting industry that's been affected by that. But it was also just kind of like it changed the sentiment to what people see as a holiday, and I think we're seeing a lot more people. Well, firstly, the idea of an all-inclusive hotel or a cruise ship with a pandemic around is maybe put people off that, and sort of
You're so right.
isolating on a boat with your friends and family where no one else can touch you is kind of like the perfect place to get away from it all. I think it's
Yeah.
also, um, like I said, been a bit of a catalyst towards, how people are choosing to do their holiday and actually an adventure or having more experience because people were locked in for so long, having those
Yes.
experience style holidays, which exactly what a yacht charter is, has really
Mm.
been driven forwards from that. So yeah, I think obviously it was horrible, but it's definitely been a positive step for the yacht charter industry. In hopefully anyway, and see how the next couple of years go. But we've definitely seen the bounce back from COVID was really great, and it's really nice to see
Yeah.
people getting back on the water and keen on sailing again.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. There was something about COVID that made everyone appreciate experiences and time. I think it's because we were forced to take a step back from, the 9 to 5, weren't we? And we were forced to, spend time with our loved ones, which sounds awful saying we were forced to, but I think then when you're in that position that you're forced to, when that's then normal life kind of resumes, you want to keep a bit of that because you kind of miss it. So I think people are placing a lot of emphasis on experiences, and time with loved ones over materialistic sort of luxury almost. They'd rather just be somewhere isolated, like you say, on a boat with just their family, with, you know, no fancy necessarily day trips and theme parks, and, you know, because we've just, you know, we just enjoyed that part of COVID so much.
Exactly. Yeah, you know, just being at anchor in a beautiful bay, and you know, cooking some food on the boat, you know, with your own music playing, having a gin and tonic or a glass of wine, whatever you want. It's yeah, you can't beat
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah, and it's such a simple pleasure, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's such a simple pleasure, but you know, you've sold it to me.
yeah,
I'd be there in a
I don't
heartbeat.
know, even I like even me personally, I feel like I'm not. I don't. I used to be a lot more like on Instagram and things like that, but I feel like I'm more
Yeah.
trying to enjoy, you know, actual being there rather than, you know, pretending to be there. You know, me personally as well. And I think you know, naturally, maybe I'm just getting old, but naturally, people are moving towards that kind of like, okay, let's experience it rather than pretend we've been there. So, um, you know,
Yeah,
getting
exactly
getting a
that.
bit
It's so
deeper and meaningful
important.
now, we say.
So what are the biggest challenges that you're facing now?
Um, oh, good question. I don't know really. I think obviously we're focused on trying to grow, and you know, we're exploring new markets, and you know, different types of trips and stuff. So there's obviously you know difficult areas, you know, when you grow. I think obviously there's a bit of an elephant in the room, is this pending recession, which could be a bit painful.
Yeah.
But you know, I think you just got to play it as it comes. You know, it's out of your hands completely, and you just got to be smart and try and weather the storm. And hopefully, when you come out of it, it will be all stronger. So, um,
Exactly that. I mean, there are some things that there are variables, always variables, especially in the growth stage of a business, that are going to be outside of our control. And you've kind of got to roll with the punches and just
exactly.
ensure that, you know, your business model is strong enough to weather it, like you say.
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing you can do. So you just got to just be as cautious, or be as daring as you can be when time's right. So
Yeah, exactly that. So, I mean, I've been seeing recently as well about the introduction of crypto as a currency for that you guys now accept. I saw the press release that was put out by Borough. But am I right in saying that Helm has been accepting crypto for a little while now?
yeah, I mean, during COVID, wasn't many charters to be sold, so I kind of um, dabbled a little bit in crypto and fell in love a little bit, which is, you know, it was obviously very interesting, and I find it fascinating, you know, how
Yeah.
it's definitely, in my opinion, is the future. I know right now, as in the last sort
Oh,
of
really?
like couple of days, it's completely tanked, but you know, there's just ups and downs, and it will come back. So yeah, we started accepting crypto payments back in, I think, maybe March or April in 2020.
Hmm.
Oh no, 2021. Sorry. Um, so you know, it's yeah. I just think it's an inevitable future, and it just means that we can do international payments with our international clients, in, you know, flash of a few minutes, rather than spend days waiting for the banking system to deliver your money. It just seems like a logical and inevitable step in the future of
Mm.
payments. So
Yeah, sure. I mean, has that has that sort of attracted a different type of client base?
yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily. I think it's obviously, you know, people who are interested in crypto, you know, might have found us because of, you know, various press, but um, you know, it's some of the clients that have paid us through crypto have been, oh, you accept crypto. You know, it's not been necessarily a different client base. Generally, they are younger,
Mm.
and because generally crypto is quite a, you know, younger person sort of industry. So there's
Mm.
that. So it's kind of like more the new money rather than old. Um, but no, it's not. It hasn't really changed our marketing tactics, so to speak.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, for me, it still feels quite an uncertain, like an unknown. Um, but the more and more I'm talking about it, it's not even. I mean, you say it's the future, but it's kind of here and now, isn't it? There are a growing number of people that are just completely comfortable and see it as the norm and how they do their transactions. For me, it's still a complete unknown, and I'm sure I'm not in the minority in that sense.
No, it's totally, people who believe in crypto is totally the minority still, and um,
Yeah.
it is a lot to grasp because it's so different. And
Mm,
if you
yeah.
look back at like the .com era when the internet came about, it was a very similar story, and it had its peaks and troughs back
Yeah,
then.
you're so
And
right.
now look at it. So, we would implode if we didn't have the internet now. So, just
Yeah.
give it another 5-10 years, and it's going to be everything we do. So
Yeah.
it's for sure it's going to be
It's
the
so
way. So
it's so instant as well, isn't it? I mean, when you look, I mean, if even if I just compare it to, I'm sure, like you say, back in the day with the email being instant, I'm sure there was people that was still sort of thinking, well, no, I could just put a stamp on a letter and it would take a few
yeah,
days. And it's almost the same analogy,
exactly.
isn't it? It's an instant transaction.
Yeah, and that's precisely it. And and it's also incredibly secure because of the blockchain technology, and it's just so much faster. And also, there's no necessarily currency issues because you're using crypto instead. So for me, it just seems so logical, and it will be
I guess once you've taken the time to understand it initially, and that's probably the barrier to people using it, is just the lack of education out
yeah,
there, and that people just don't understand it. And it's almost, you have to almost really put yourself out there to make that effort to understand it, because it's not something that's people are always talking about, or there's not a general understanding about
yeah,
it.
exactly. But what I would say is there's no rush. Like it's
Mm,
people can get on board with it in their own pace. It's not something
yeah.
that you have to do now. Um, what you have to do. It's just see how it goes, I guess.
Just nice to
Yeah,
have, isn't it? It's a nice option if somebody wants
yeah,
it.
exactly.
So what's the plan? What's the ultimate vision? Do you have like a goal that you've set yourself, or you've set the business where it's almost like a finish line where you cross that and you say, yeah, that's what I was aiming for.
Yeah, I mean, we do have some internal goals. I mean, the longer term, goals are to be one of the biggest players in the industry. We want to continue our growth that we've had over the last sort of 18 months, and we really can see a pathway to that. And hopefully we can be, like I said, one of the major players in the industry, and be there for a long time. It's Yeah, never anything final, obviously. So we'll have to see,
Yeah.
watch the space, but but for sure, we're onto a good thing at the moment, and long may that
Hmm.
continue.
So it's longevity. It's not something that you want to do, be really successful, and then move on to your next project. You're looking for longevity out of
I'm
this. You see it for the
For
long
me
term.
personally, I'm always going to be in this industry, and whether that's a part of Borough Group, or whether we have also discussed potentially IPOing in a number of years' time. But whether I'd stay on, I'm
Okay.
not sure. But yeah, we'll see whatever the future holds.
Awesome, it's exciting. So looking back, I know that you've experienced such fast growth since you started it. But have you had one sort of defining moment where you've sort of taken a step back and you've thought, I'm actually really proud of that?
Um, yeah, I guess so. I think actually it was quite nice actually. The Southampton Boat Show this year, we sponsored the we sponsored the quarter deck bar, and and it was quite a nice
Yes.
moment. The exhibitor party on the Thursday, and all of the exhibitors were in the quarter deck bar, and there was a huge Helm logo at the back of the bar. So like
Oh,
everyone was there, um, dancing away, and then there was Helm and Borough on the other side. So that was a pretty special moment. But I think sometimes I do have to, pinch myself. We've come a long way since I was working from my parents' bedroom in my bedroom at my parents' house in 2015. We've come a long way since then.
Oh
So,
God, that's not even that long ago
well, yeah,
either, is
it
it?
feels like it. So yeah, no, it's great. I'm very very proud of what we've done, and like I say, long may that continue, and I look forward to seeing what happens in the next few years.
Yes, yes, definitely. So, okay, so a bit of a personal question. If you were going to go on a boat for a month, what would it look like? What we talking, a motorboat, a sailboat?
Ah, so I've always been a sailor, and I love sailing, but I have a bit of a hankering for motorboats recently. I just love that.
Oh,
I get
really?
most of my enjoyment from yachting, from just being on the water, um, and
Mm.
and I think this is from so many charters I've done in the Med, where you never get any wind, so you never put the sails up anyway, and they're just actually more of a hassle than a help. Um, so
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm torn. I think probably a catamaran. I'd probably go for a catamaran over anything.
yeah. Yeah, there seems to the catamarans. They seem to be standing out in the industry at the moment. I've seen a few launches recently. The Sunreef Eco, for instance, that I've looked at and I've thought that's actually really cool. And given a choice, I'd have one of those.
I think just they're able to offer the comforts of a motorboat, but the efficiency of a sailing boat. They're like a big floating hotel essentially. So they're
Yeah, amazing.
they're awesome, and they're very very popular for holidaying because of that. So I think they're definitely
Yeah,
going to be the next big thing. Well, they already are the next big thing, but I think the growth of
yeah.
catamarans will continue for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. And what I love about all of this is how simple you're making it sound. You even you're just making it sound like you're giving those simple pleasures to your customers, and you're making it easy, accessible, right through from, they know they're going to get a quality experience because you will turn away anything that isn't. You've made it easy for them to make the transaction. Everything about this is so simple and easy, and that's probably, I mean, I imagine what's contributed to the great success that you've enjoyed.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the way I see it is it sounds really cheesy, but we're selling happiness. Like, people don't, the one big holiday a year, and they're choosing to invest it with you. You feel a bit of pressure that you want to make sure it's good. So we've tried everything we can to make it as easy as possible, and lower the hurdles to get there. And we spend a lot on teaching our staff and making sure that we go out to the bases to see the boats, to meet the crew. It's an important part of what we do, and why would you go to that trouble to get that knowledge if you then didn't impart that on your customer? So obviously we're talking about charters and holidays all day long, whereas the customer's coming
Yeah.
in to to look for their holiday, and they do it once a year. Then
Mm.
I'm sure a lot of people are very knowledgeable in it, but ultimately we're going to have more experience and more knowledge about what their holiday is going to be, because we do it all the
Yeah.
time. So yeah, we just ask them to look, tell us what you want, and we'll tell you the best options available, and we'll find you the very best boats, prices, everything. So
Awesome. You've sold it to me. You know what I'm going to be talking to you about later. Next year's holiday.
of course, yeah, let me know.
So yeah. So the question to finish the podcast, the question I ask everybody: what one quote do you sort of strive to live by, or have you got one saying that really sticks in your mind?
Um, to put me on the spot, I guess, but I don't necessarily have anything that I'd live my life by. But I'll give you a funny quote anyway. For you David Brent fans, it's live fast, die old. So if you've seen The Office, I'm sure you get that.
I love that. I was, you just expect someone to say live fast, die young. So
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Peter. It's been really, really great to speak to you and have you on, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
I really hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you have, then it would be awesome if you could leave a rating or a review. Don't forget to subscribe so you can listen to us again. See you soon.